This is the story of the time I played in a live local Rocket League tournament and how it got absolutely crazy and way more intense than I ever could have expected. It also turned out to be one of my favorite experiences since becoming a part of the Rocket League community, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. Let's start at the beginning. I come from a big family with 5 kids in all, so my oldest brother plays quite a bit of Fortnite with me, and we suck, but it's always fun. So Kyle, my older brother, lives in Wisconsin, about 4 hours away from where I live in Iowa. Now, if you don't know the difference between Wisconsin and Iowa, it's basically just a bit more snowy and a bit colder, and I guess a bit less corn. Anyways, we like to pack up our little family and go visit my older brother Kyle's family, and we basically all just crash in their house, a total of 7 kids, I believe. It's always crazy, and it's always fun. Now, rewind about 2 or 3 weeks before our visit, a new business opened up in the city of Sheboygan, about 20 minutes from where my brother lives in Wisconsin, and it's called Gameon. Basically, it's a place where people can come and play on PCs and consoles, and there's things like membership options and tournaments. Everything you need to know about Gameon can be found from the link in the description below. Now, this isn't sponsored by them or anything like that. I just really loved getting to hang out with these guys. They were super cool and super welcoming, and they're hoping to keep growing and open new locations. So go follow them, and if you're in the Sheboygan area, you guys have to go check this out. So my brother informed me that this weekend, when we were planning to come, just so happened to be the same weekend as Gameon's grand opening, and they were hosting a 1v1 Rocket League tournament, and he said that I should sign up for it. So I did. I packed up my controller and we headed north for our visit. So when I first arrived at this place, I talked to them for a little bit and basically went and sat down at my station and started grinding free play. Now, a lot was actually on the line. There was a free month membership that would go to the winner to that place that I really wanted to win for my nephew who lives there. He's 7 years old and he plays Rocket League, and he's the kid who I left alone playing Rocket League for a few minutes and came back, and this was the car that he'd made. Very beautiful. So I got to meet most of the players right away. The owners had told them that I was coming, so they all knew that I was coming, and it was just super chill and super fun. So I went around and just talked to them and watched them warming up, basically just chatted with them. And though I knew I'd be able to beat some of the players that I saw, there were a few kids who were clearly solid players. None of them claimed to be grand champs, but a few looked like they were close to grand champ level. This one kid, I guess we'll just call him Psych, said that he was a diamond 1 in ones, but I thought he might have been messing with me when he told me this because he didn't play like a diamond 1 at all. Also, when I met him, he told me that he promised himself he wouldn't freak out when he met his hero, and that it was all good because Sunless Khan wasn't there anyway, so he was totally fine. I don't know, I might have messed his joke up, but it was something like that. Remember that name, Psych. He's an important character in the narrative. So in my first round, I was supposed to play this kid sitting right next to me, but he had to leave, and so his friend stepped in. I think he was around plat or something like that, so this wasn't a huge challenge. He said he just wanted to manage to score a goal on me, and he did score a few legit goals, so props to him. I also went on a little demo streak, which wasn't my proudest moment, but it was funny. Okay, so my next match was against one of the guys who actually runs the place. Now, I don't remember exactly what his rank was, but I think it was maybe around diamond in ones or something like that. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was plat, but I could tell I was starting to play a little bit better players as I went on. Plus, I'm not making excuses at all, but this was the match that I realized that my controller was broken. And you can see it in this little moment where my car turns and causes me to lose all my momentum. Some of you might think I just messed up here, but anyone around me who's, playing can attest that my analog stick was sticking. So if I put it up and left into the top left corner, it would just stay there. So I'd randomly on kickoffs and stuff have my controller stick and cause me to flop, which makes a huge difference in certain situations. Now, they had plenty of nice Xbox controllers there, but I personally cannot play good on anything that isn't my dumb off-brand controller. I just hate the feel of every other controller, and I literally play so much worse. I think it has to do with the actual sensitivity of the controllers. I literally can't do an air dribble or a double touch on any other controller than mine. So in this game, I actually tried out the Xbox controller because my controller was getting so bad, but I ultimately decided to stick with mine, even though it was basically breaking before my eyes. So this guy Jerd was really fun to play, and he quick chatted the crap out of me the whole game, which was rather entertaining. I managed to get past Jerd, and now the competition was getting more intense. I now had to play the kid with the Lethamyr jersey on. I don't remember what his name was exactly, but he was wearing a Lethamyr jersey, and he was super cool, and he was also pretty solid. So this was the match before the grand finals. So I not only needed to win, I needed to stay warmed up. So I decided I wasn't going to screw around no matter how good or bad he was. I went as hard as I could the whole time, and I just scored a ridiculous amount of goals. So I made it to the grand finals against our good friend Psych. That's the one who earlier told me that he wasn't nervous because I wasn't Sunless Khan. So I knew that I could beat him from watching him. I knew that he was probably at least a little lower ranked than me, even if he was messing with me about the whole Diamond 1 thing. And to put it into perspective, I'm normally around Champ 1, but yeah, I guess that he was probably around Champ 2 in other playlists. But as you probably know, and as I learned in this match, rank really doesn't matter that much, especially in the right situation when the pressure's on. Sure, a gold is never going to beat me in ones, no matter what the situation, but I knew this kid was good, I knew he had good mechanics, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So we decided that this would be a best of 5 series, and I decided to start out slow, sort of get a feel for how he played, and you know, that was not his plan. He came out with an early demo and a goal, and then an incredibly speedy counter goal. And at this point, I knew what I was facing. It was somebody who, regardless of their rank, they weren't scared of me, they weren't scared of my ability, and you know, this is a player who doesn't overthink. He just goes for stuff, which meant I needed to adjust my style a little bit. I like to play slow in ones, I like to take my time and set up shots, and he likes to make stuff happen and just play at a really fast pace. So this meant that I'd use my space whenever I could because I knew he didn't like that. And as we'll see later on, that is the case, but otherwise, I needed to play really speedy. I returned with a nice little bar down power shot, but he quickly responded by outpacing me again on his end, and then I again responded by flicking it over his head. Basically, my goals were happening when I got space, and his were just beating me to challenges. He rarely, if ever, like pulled off a flick on me or something like that. Now, both of these styles are completely valid. I'm not saying my style or his style is better, they're just different play styles. But slowly, as the match went on, we both needed to kind of adapt to each other's play style and play a little bit more like the other person. There was also this great moment where Psych scored a goal on me, and then he told me that I should go get a coach on Gamers Ready, but he misspelled Gamers Ready, so some trash talk points were taken away for that, but you know, it was a pretty good one. Now at this point, I was super nervous. Like honestly, I was nervous the whole finals. Like I was shaking so much, like I couldn't control my nerves, and I was sweating really bad. It was weird, and it just gives me so much more respect for like pro players who play in such high, intense, like high pressure situations. I have no idea how they do it. So in game 2, I did feel like I had a good sense of how he played, and I started playing a bit more aggressive, started going for shots that I knew I could hit, and though he scored the first goal of the match again in that game, I started just taking it to him, and I ended up like 4 goals ahead of him with just a minute and 30 seconds left, and then I started going for demo goals more in hopes of tilting him a little bit. So I felt good going into game 3 with the series tied 1-1. Game 3 was back and forth the entire time. I'd score, and then he'd score, and then I'd score, and it actually went into overtime, and I managed to score on an overcommit from him to put the series at match point and going into game 4. Now, I really did not want to go into game 5. I knew I sort of had this kid's number. I understood how he played, and I really wanted to take him out in game 4, but as we all know, sometimes the Rocket League gods have other plans. Though this match was also extremely back and forth, Psych held off my final attack, and it went into game 5. Now, all the other players and parents who were there started clapping, like because it went into game 5, and I'll be honest, I was terrified. Now, before I tell you what happened, I need you to know something about me, and it is that I throw a lot. Like one time I got us knocked out of the playoffs of IGL, which is a league that we play in, with a final own goal to lose the entire match and to end our entire like season. And this has been my whole life, like in competitive situations. As a hardcore golfer growing up, I never did well under pressure. I mean, sometimes I did, but more often than not, like I would just crumble under pressure and do stupid things. And a great example of this is actually when I was 13 years old, I paid in to play poker with my older brother and all of his friends, and he was around 18-ish at that time, and I was 13, and the pot was around $20. And even though I suck at poker, I managed to knock virtually everybody out, and it was me against this one kid who was my brother's age, who liked to pick on me a lot. Granted, I was 13 and he was 18, but yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't like him very much at that time. I'm sure we'd be fine now, but I didn't really like him at the time. And I had all the chips. Like literally I had virtually everything. In a few hands, he'd be out easily just by having to ante. So he offered me $19. Like he takes $1 of the pot and I take $19 of the pot and we just call it over. And of course, I just wanted to beat him. So I said no, and then he came all the way back and demolished me. So now here I am, I find myself in a ones match, the one game mode with insane comeback potential, and game 5 was going my way. I was taking all the boost, I was dominating ball control, and I was up 6-1 with less than half of the game left. But in that moment, I made a fatal mistake. I went for a flip reset goal. Syke defended the goal well, and he grabbed the ball and scored a counter goal. But I'm still up by 4. So you'd think this is no big deal. And that's what I told myself, but secretly I started getting nervous. And then I saw it. He was in the zone. Like he started taking all the boost and he just started outpacing me again like he had in game 1. And with 45 seconds left, I had easy possession, but I had given up a bunch of goals and I made a fatal error. The same error that I've been making since that one counter goal. I tried to play safe, which does not work. I tried to run the clock down. Instead of scoring, I was like, okay, he's not gonna score 2 goals on me in 45 seconds. But he came, took the ball from me, and scored a ridiculous drift goal. Like I'm telling you, this kid is really good. If he is a Diamond 1, like in ones, and say a Champ 1 or 2, like he'll hit GC in no time. Like 6 months from now, I have a feeling if he kept playing and working hard, he would just absolutely demolish me. So another kickoff goal later, and here I was tied with arguably a better, faster Rocket League player with 30 seconds left in game 5. And as the clock winded down on my last attempt, he defended well and we went into overtime. Now remember, my controller is broken at this point, which is not an excuse. Like honestly, it worked fine for the most of the final series, but I was always conscious of it, and it was really bad randomly on kickoffs. Like there was one point earlier in the series when he told me that I did a Ronicky, which is basically, I just like my controller stuck and I went flying instead of dodging. So I knew there was potential for me to totally lose this kickoff and give up a goal. And I'm not kidding when I say that all I could think about in this moment was all of the other times that I'd choked in my life. I was literally thinking about that moment 15 years ago when I'd completely choked in that poker match. Like I've never forgotten that. So the kickoff went sideways, and here's what happened. I have to say, I don't know if I've ever been this happy playing Rocket League. Like these kinds of things never happened to me. And that moment when the ball was flying sideways and I knew I just had to just go for it. Like just hit the ball, try to hit the ball in the goal. And if you lose, you lose. If I was going to play passive in that overtime, I would have lost. Anyways, I got to hang out a bit with all these guys afterwards and like sign stuff and just talk about Rocket League. And again, this place, which is called Gameon, was just so cool about all of it. The owners and everyone who worked there, like they're all gamers, so it's like what they're passionate about. Such a cool place, and I'm really looking forward to finding another local Rocket League tournament and doing this whole kind of thing again. So big shout out to Syke, you're an animal, man. And honestly, you deserve to win that. But we were both given free month passes to the place, which was really cool of them. And then I went to Burger King and ate an Impossible Whopper in celebration. So like I said on Twitter, this was one of my favorite moments since I've joined the Rocket League community. Whenever I get to meet you guys, it's always just so cool. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time. Peace out.